Hello, my name is Larry Cochran. I was born right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma in June of 1950, and we lived mostly in North Tulsa. Well, actually, I lived mostly entirely in North Tulsa until I graduated high school. The first house I remember was blocks north of Apache Street on the west side, and I don't think that home is there anymore. It was next to a church. And before I started kindergarten, we moved further north on Cincinnati on the west side, about 6 blocks from Burroughs Elementary School. And then when I was before second grade, we moved to 54th Place North in Elgin on the northwest corner, and I went to Sam Houston Elementary School. And then after that, Monroe Junior High for 2 years, and then in ninth grade, they built Gilcrease Junior High, and I went there for 1 year. And then to McLean, where I graduated in 1968. The only person of any celebrity that I knew during those years was Mike Turpin, and he, of course, ran against David Walters after one term as state attorney general and lost that election. What was interesting was we'd known each other since the second grade, basically, and he'd been running for office since the 8th grade, I believe, and he had me as his de facto campaign manager a couple of times, and that was interesting. Anyway, I grew up with 3 brothers. One lives in Tucson, Arizona right now, my oldest brother. I have one younger brother who is 2 years younger than I am. He was born on my second birthday. It's quite a birthday present. He lives in Springfield, Missouri, and then I have a youngest brother who is about 6 years younger than me, and he lives in Salina, Oklahoma. My dad and mother both grew up in the Depression, and my dad basically grew up around Jay, Oklahoma, and he went into the service in 1943 during World War II in the Navy and served on a destroyer escort during that time. He told me of one time when they were close to Okinawa, and this was near the end of the war, when his bridge on the ship got hit by a kamikaze plane, and several people were killed, including the commanding officer, I believe. And he was in radar technology during that time, and which was fairly new at the time. And then he was recalled back into the Korean War in 1950, and he served aboard a destroyer escort there as well. And his ship was the only U.S. ship that was hit during that war. And when that happened, it opened up a big hole on the port side of the ship, and he actually missed dying by about 15 seconds. He had gone to the showers, and 15 seconds later, a big hole was opened up, either by a mine or there's some supposition that possibly it was a Soviet submarine or maybe a Soviet-trained North Korean submarine, but that's just supposition. My mom also grew up in the Depression. Most of her life she lived in Montana, west of Helena, in a town called Elston. And she went to Pepperdine University in California for a little less than 2 years, I think, and then moved to Seattle when her dad started working in the shipyards, and she worked in the shipyards as well, so she was somewhat of a Rosie the Riveter as well. And she and my dad apparently met on a street corner in Seattle with a girlfriend and a boy and a guy friend that he was associated with. And I still haven't asked them what that was all about, but we can all speculate. After I graduated high school, I went to college at OSU and majored in radio, TV, film. Graduated in 1974. Richard Nixon spoke at my graduation about 3 months before he resigned, and that was interesting. And I got my graduate degree from OSU as well in curriculum and instruction in 2003. So I had quite a jump there in time. I was also in the Navy for about 20 months. I was actually in the reserves in my senior year in high school. And then a little over a year later, I was assigned temporarily to Naval Air Station Barbers Point, Hawaii for 4 months. And then my permanent station was to be the Subic Bay in the Philippines. And my supervisor requested I stay there permanently, so I was there for 20 months. And for the last year, my older brother, Randy, and I were stationed together and roomed together. So that was nice. My work history basically includes a short stint in radio news and radio announcing. I also had a short stint as a assignment editor and producer for Channel 5 in Oklahoma City. Got to raise the ratings. That was kind of neat. And then we moved back to Tulsa and started a business, worked there and ran a business for about 9 years, and then moved on to higher ed and started working at Tulsa Junior College at the time in 1986. And then moved to OSU Tulsa in 2000, mostly in areas of media, distance learning, and instruction. Did some part-time teaching, both UCC and at OSU. And then from there, that pretty much wraps up my career history. My personal history. I was married in 1974 in my senior year of college to Deborah, my wife, and we've been married a little over 40 years. And we have a great son, Drew, and a beautiful granddaughter, Savannah. And partially, if we're looking at me personally, I've always been one to kind of try to please people, and as I get older, I find that's not so important. I really just need to do the right thing and please myself. And I remember in the second grade, I was told that I was too loud in music class and choir, and so she pulled me out for the year. And music was one of my passions, even at a young age in second grade. So that kind of defined my music career for a long time. And I really didn't get into it seriously until the early 80s, when my wife was very supportive in me getting back into it, and so I got to play Little Chap and Stop the World I Want to Get Off, Harold Hill and the Music Man, Guys and Dolls, so on. And the last 9-10 years or so, I've been singing at the Oklahoma Jazz Hall of Fame and the Spotlight Theater. So music is a big passion of mine, and the Great American Songbook music, which my mom primarily listened to, was also a big passion of hers, and that's what kind of given it my spin on it. I suppose to get even a little bit more in a personal venue, I guess some of my joys and sorrows have to do with my wife's condition. She has rheumatoid arthritis, an advanced case, and ankylosing spondylitis, which is a disease of the spine. It also affects the soft tissues of the body. And she also has COPD. I guess my hope every day is that she experiences some pain-free time. That means a lot. Obvious joys are my son and my granddaughter. I can't imagine anything more joyous than that. I have had some joys singing and audience appreciation, and I always enjoy that, especially the Oklahoma Jazz Hall of Fame and at church. I always enjoy singing at church, especially in the choir, but solo as well. Yeah, we did have an exciting adventure. My brother-in-law used to live in Alaska, and he had enough frequent flyer miles to get all three of us there and back. And he lived in Nome, which is not the greatest place, but we were there for about 2.5 weeks and had a lot of big adventures and fishing and rock hunting and gold exploration and so on. saw our first grizzly and so on. So yeah, that was a wonderful experience. Everyday life for me is just how I seem to have the respect of some very high-profile research scientists and so forth, and working with them is also a big joy for me. Future plans, what I would like to do is kind of segue into retirement by increasing my part-time teaching time and teaching part-time, in retirement as well. But I would also like to give back to the community, and that's why I'm here. How it works, I can have an impact on the community, especially in North Tulsa, going forward. I want to